And now, drill, baby, drill. As I mentioned at the top of the show, before those words became a political slogan, somebody was putting them into practice big time. His name is Frederick Davidson. The company is Energold. They have over 250 rigs around the world at any given time, drilling for oil, for gas, for minerals, even for water. And it's often in a hot spot, a dangerous spot. Whenever I catch up with Fred, I'm scared for him. I tell him, don't go there. But he does go, and he comes back safe and sound. He seems fearless, but not in a facile way. It's the opposite. It's because he's very careful, very professional, and very respectful of the communities and the countries where Energold does business. Here's Frederick Davidson. Fred Davidson, I think your company has more rigs than the entire state of Texas must have, except they're not all in one place. You've got that. You've got also some very interesting mining operations. What does the company do?
Well, the company basically sees itself as a commodity driller and supplier. We drill both in water, energy, minerals, and at the same time we have a strong interest in a small silver mine operating in Mexico, underground mine.
And is the idea, the mine came later, and I kind of thought this must be, you want to be able to, mining is notoriously cyclical and dangerous for investors. You want to protect against lows in price with more of a supply business. The supply businesses keep going no matter what because people always need the drill bits and so on. Is that the calculation behind this?
Yeah, it's part of it. The mining is fun. Quite frankly, I've been in mining now 35 years, and you go underground, there's explosives, there's rock stability, what have you. It's exciting, but once you get used to it, it's comfortable feeling. Mm-hmm. But it is, as you point out, very volatile industry, where what we do in drilling is we're providing a service, and that service could be whether somebody wants to drill for oil or gas, they want to drill for minerals, they want to drill for water. More continuity to it. I get to pay my staff more that way and more continuously. The mining is way too flexible for that, so yeah.
And in the end, I mean, we've heard sometimes these things are legendary. Fortunes made in the Yukon, not from finding gold, but from supplying the hotel services, the train service, the restaurant services. I mean, some people became rich living off an industry in a much more stable fashion. In a sense, maybe the drilling business is your gold mine.
Yeah, it's almost exactly that. We say the same thing about the California gold rush. You know, it was the sort of the ladies of the night and the hardware owners made the money, and seeing how the lawyers have taken over the first job, we thought we'll go for the hardware.
And so you are not seen as a competitor. Any mine that comes to you doesn't care that you have a silver mine in Mexico. I mean,
not really.
That's not relevant.
Really. It's a big world out there. We have a small mine in Mexico. And it's not a competitive situation. We offer good service. They don't care if we're drilling for ourselves or for them. You want to give them results, and that's what our job is, on time and on price.
And how much of a difference can you make to it? I mean, we would assume, of course it'd be naive, I suppose, to assume that miners know how to drill and they'll just rent a drill and do it themselves. How much of a difference does it make when they come to a specialist like you? What are the challenges? Oh,
they tend to be our best customer, actually, the guys who tried it themselves. And they suddenly found out that the driller they'd engage is off on a drunk somewhere and isn't operating the rig, or the rig breaks down and there isn't a follow-up rig. No, we love that type of guy, because sooner or later we're going to get him as a client. We'll keep them as a client.
So you're turnkey. You go out there to Africa or wherever it is. You come in with the proper technicians, the proper tools. And I know you've got something like 350 rigs going at any time and around the world. It's enormous. You have therefore 350 at least people out there, or maybe more.
A lot more.
Taking care of that. We've got 1,700 employees, I think. How do you monitor all that? And I mean, what kind of problems can come up?
You name it, there's a problem. I mean, yeah, what we're trying to do, and for instance, in a client in Guinea 2 years ago, they needed to start, because of their licensing, within literally about a month. And the rigs we had were in Canada. We ended up arranging to have crews flowing in from one direction. We chartered a 747 to fly the rigs over there, $375,000 for that. And then we flew and shipped supplies in from another. We started within 2 days of our expected date. So a lot of coordination. We've got a whole team that do nothing more than logistics. And that's part of mining. People equipment and logistics. And that's what we do worldwide, and we're damn good at it.
And when you drill for somebody, do they have assurance already that there's something down there? Or are you the bearer of bad news if you're drilling a duster, as they say?
Hey, the odds are 10,000 to 1 that it's ever going to be a mine.
Really?
That's being generous. The odds are probably worse. So what they want us to do is get in there, test it early, keep the dollars down, and find out if there is something there so they don't spend more money. Everybody thinks it's the other way around. It's not. So yeah, we are quite often the bearer of bad news. But I can give you an example of one that we were a bearer of good news. We were drilling for a client in the Dominican Republic. They had virtually run out of money. They called us up and said, look, we've got money for one more hole. So they did a Hail Mary. I mean, they drilled a brand new target, and they hit a couple hundred meters of gold.
Wow.
And called us up immediately afterwards and said, bring the rigs back. And that one you feel pretty good about. He's made him a lot of money, made his shareholders a lot of money, made us a lot of money too.
But it is rare.
It's very rare.
And you mentioned Congo, and I read in the research, I don't know the story, but the militias gave you some trouble.
Well, we get trouble with militias all the time, but what we try and do is, before we go into an area, we try and develop a relationship with the community, whether it be farmers, whether it be the government, whether it be militias. We don't want to disturb them. We prefer if they don't disturb us. And for instance, when we were drilling up near Goma and in North Kivu State, there was a civil war going on, and we managed to negotiate sort of a truce. They left us alone, them alone. And we continued that drill program until finally Ebola broke out in the village nearby, and we finally had to evacuate. But it was one of those where if you explain to people, again, whether it be the local campesinos, the country people, or the government, or what have you, what you're doing, generally they understand. We involve them in many cases. When we have a rig going in the field, we'll use about 18 locals and maybe 2 people coming in. So all of a sudden you're providing salaries, you're providing a future for these people, training for them. And the environmental impact, especially with our early stage exploration rigs, is 4 meters by 4 meters.
Wow.
Virtually nothing else.
Yeah, that's right. Small footprint.
Yeah.
But you're known for that. In your literature, you point out you do that, you go the extra mile, and of course there's extra costs involved, but that's how you do it, and the implication is others don't.
They certainly didn't in the past. When we started off, we were sort of dismissed as being sort of weird. But we found that the major mines, etc., they're very concerned about their image worldwide. And if we can go in and do virtually no environmental, leave no environmental footprint whatsoever, but leave a positive social footprint, i.e. pay people a salary, get them involved, train them. We've brought in dentists to do dental work in communities. We provide schools with books. Local community in Liberia, for instance, we brought in clothes for all the kids. I mean, because one of the pictures showed me all the kids were naked. Brought in clothes and shoes for all the kids, and mosquito netting for them as well. But we also brought some soccer balls, because the guys used to, after work, we'd go out and play soccer with the kids.
But it's astounding to me that those efforts that are done sometimes are still not enough, and I suppose it's because you can't please everybody. And you're giving employment to some people. But I read the story behind, for instance, the famous mine on the Chilean-Argentine border, gold mine, that never really worked. It may work one day, but a fantastic mine. And they did try all kinds of nice things and making nice with everybody in every possible way. But then somebody else would get angry and jealous, and
Yeah, and some of the miners have been very good. I won't say the company, but one of the places we worked in Central America, they did everything they could. They said, okay, everybody within a 10-kilometer radius of where we're going to put the mine, they put in water, they put in electricity, put in roads, they put in schools. Now everybody who is 12 kilometers out felt offended, and it kept on expanding. And the other problem we ran into is we were drilling there, and this is a Mayan community. And we didn't know it, but they were convinced, the Mayans believed they came from the earth. That's where they originated from. We didn't know it, but they were convinced by drilling holes in the earth, we were letting the spirits out. And the local church priest was more Mayan than he really was Catholic. And after his ceremony on Sunday, the boys would all go out, have a few beer, and start taking pot shots at us on the rig. And I was actually on there when one of the bullets went past us.
You're kidding.
Wondered what the thwack off of the metal was, and the driller sort of laughed. He said, oh damn, they're shooting at us again, but fortunately they're drunk enough, they're not hitting us. We pulled, obviously, on Sundays. We didn't drill anymore. But
Yeah, not
that's the
kidding.
sort of thing you're dealing with. They don't understand or appreciate, or you're dealing with a cultural difference that's so huge that you almost can't, leap the gap.
So you don't drill on Sundays in that circumstance, but I would assume in other circumstances you pack up and leave. I mean, if your people's lives are at risk, what's your sort of your cutoff, your decision?
Well, you just said it. When your people's lives are at risk, we don't take any risks. We've never lost anybody. I think the worst incident we had was somebody who was shot in the butt. But he wasn't working for us at the time, and apparently he was fooling around with a narco's girlfriend. If I'd known that, I probably would have shot him in the butt, quite frankly. But that's the only incident we've ever had that you could say is serious.
So, Fred Davidson, thanks to you, I now know the most dangerous part of this whole business is you can get your butt shot at. And so I will bear that in mind when traveling in these countries.
Just don't mess around with a narco's girlfriend. There's the law.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the rule.
So long life to you and to Energold. Frederick Davidson was our guest this week on the Entrepreneur Series of the World Show. I'm Bob Scully. Have a great week. Thanks.